Welcome in week 5 edition of the Cash Process. I'm your host, Ben Osler. We are here to give our first look at the week 5 NFL DFS main slate over on DraftKings. Hopefully you guys had a good week 4. Week 4 was my best week overall in terms of cash games. I did a stream on Saturday night, so if you guys aren't up with all of my content, I do this video, I do a survivor pool video. Both those come out here on the YouTube channel and go on iTunes and all that stuff. And then typically on the weekend, I will do a stream on Saturday night here on the YouTube channel for an hour or so talking about my updated thoughts on things, my article, which goes over how I plan to build my 3 max entry contest lineups, comes out on Friday. And then we had the last minute stream on Sunday morning at 11. So I did a stream on Saturday night last week, and I kind of talked about how it was such a weird slate relative to what we're used to in the NFL. In the NFL, we definitely get some last minute injury news sometimes, but typically we have an idea, like maybe this guy will miss or maybe he'll be in. This week it was kind of like out of the blue, like with the Deshaun Watson stuff late in the week. Jimmy Garoppolo, I felt pretty good on Thursday, Friday that he wasn't going to play, but I thought that the Raiders would just cop out and play Brian Hoyer, and that wouldn't really affect things too much other than affecting Devontae Adams' ownership. But it did affect things because they went with the rookie Aiden O'Connell, who was 4K on DraftKings, and then just the entire slate kind of changed overnight on Saturday night, and that normally doesn't happen in the NFL. So I said on Saturday night that I didn't think I would like the slate if we got that news that O'Connell was going to be the starting quarterback, because I felt that it was just going to completely break the slate with a mid-price quarterback. But I think that when we get late news like that, really late in the week, overnight on Saturday night, I think that it really favors the people that are putting in the work and really tuned into this stuff. So I don't think it's a coincidence that I had my best week in cash games of the season on a week like that with overnight news on Saturday, because as you guys know, I'm constantly researching this. It's basically my full-time job, this and on the betting side of things. So I had a great week. Hopefully that was a long-winded way of saying I had my best week of the season. So hopefully you guys did good as well. I didn't have a great tournament week. It was really, really unfortunate, man. If you read my article, I was on the Devin A-Chain Stephon Diggs mini stack. I loved it. So I had that in a good number of my builds. I had an A.J. Brown one-off in a lineup. And still, I couldn't put anything together and get a good finish in tournaments, man. Still chasing that. Still feel like it's coming. I feel like I'm getting tuned in. Like I was all over the A-Chan stuff. If you guys watched the streams over the weekend last week, I told you guys I really liked Devin A-Chan last week, and that worked out. But still chasing that big tournament week this season. But cash games is my best week. If you guys want to know what my lineup was, this is going to be a long intro, so apologies, guys, if you don't care as much about the review stuff. You can fast forward through this, but I ended up playing Steph Diggs in cash games, and I think that it was a mistake that more people didn't play him. I think that it was pretty clear once we got that Aiden O'Connell news that you could put Aiden O'Connell in. You could, obviously, with Eli Mitchell out, you were playing Christian McCaffrey, and you were playing Kyron Williams. So you already had your quarterback and 2 running back slots locked in. Put in a cheap tight end, put in a cheap defense. I thought it was pretty clear you were going to spend up for 2 receivers. And one of those was going to be Keenan Allen, and the other was going to be Devontae Adams. Now, once we got the Aiden O'Connell news, I did not want to stack Aiden O'Connell with Devontae Adams in cash games. That's too much risk, in my opinion, not knowing how Aiden O'Connell would look. So if he came out and played really bad, that's going to tank your lineup, because that probably means Devontae Adams is going to not have a great game as well. So once it became clear that it was going to be Keenan Allen and a different receiver, I felt that most people were going to be playing Jamar Chase because of how he projected and the expected pass funnel spot. against the Tennessee Titans defense, but I just think it was flat out a bad decision to play him over Steph Diggs. So I was pretty shocked at what I got Stephon Diggs ownership at in cash games. I mean, highest total of the week, expected shootout, Bills, Dolphins, potential spot where he could just really pop off with how the Dolphins scheme their defense under Vic Fangio. And like I said, best game environment of the week, like higher total than the Bengals Titans game. His quarterback isn't hurt like Joe Burrow. So I just thought it was thin to go with Chase in cash over Steph Diggs. So I feel like we made the right decision there, and we were rewarded with our best score in cash games of the season. I think my cash game lineup scored like over 180 on DraftKings. So it was a really good week. With that being said, we are on to week 5. It is a smaller, once again, 10-game slate here. We have some bye weeks setting in. We have a London game, which takes the Bills and the Jaguars off the main slate, 2 teams that typically we like to target in our DFS contest. So pretty weird slate, I would say, with only 10 games. Starting off at the quarterback position. I've spent down more at quarterback this year than I have in past seasons. Like last year and the year before, I felt like we really were just kind of jamming Hurts, jamming Lamar every week. This year, like with some of the stuff that's been going on, we have saved a little bit. I don't think the saving options at quarterback this week are as strong as they have been in recent weeks, barring some Saturday night injury news like we got last week. So at the top, we have Patrick Mahomes against the Vikings. This is like the only good game of the week, I would say. Let me pull up the I don't feel like opening another tab, so let me pull up this Vegas odds. All right, so in terms of totals here, the Chiefs Vikings, I mean Dolphins Giants is at 49.5, and that's because of how crazy good the Dolphins offense is. I mean, if you guys watched that my first bad read of the season betting wise came on Monday night when I liked the Giants. I mean, that was an bad end to what was a good week. I mean, just a disgraceful performance. But 49.5 over under there, mainly given because the Dolphins have a 30-point team total. You have a decent total here at 50.5 between the Eagles and the Rams. I think that Eagles-Rams game could be pretty fun. And then we have a 53 total between the Chiefs and the Vikings. So obviously one of the best games of the week here in the Dome. Mahomes at 8,200. Not going to be a cash game option for me, but great, obviously, tournament play. People are definitely going to be stacking this game, but I don't see how you click Mahomes over Hurts or Lamar or Anthony Richardson. So with that, moving on, Hurts against the Rams, completely fine. Feels like we haven't gotten like a nuclear game from Jalen Hurts yet this season. Could it come against the Rams this week? Maybe. I mean, if you guys take a look at what Anthony Richardson did against the same team last week, went for 30 DraftKings points. Jalen Hurts has not hit 30 DraftKings points one time this season. I was altering between the two on the screen if you guys are watching on the video, but and look what Anthony Richardson did running the ball, 10 carries, 56 yards, and a touchdown. Feels like Jalen Hurts has been pretty automatic for a rushing touchdown. I mean, he didn't get one this past week, but he had 3 in his prior 2 games coming into that. If they get to the 1 yard line, like they're going to run the tush push every single time with how good they are. So feel like it's a great spot for Jalen Hurts, but we haven't gotten that nuclear performance. Like we haven't got a 30 DK point game from him yet. He got it through the air last week with 319 passing yards and 2 passing touchdowns, only 34 yards on the ground. Definitely think we could see a big game out of Jalen Hurts here at 8K. Lamar had a monster game against a really good Cleveland defense last week. He's coming off back-to-back big games, 32 and 29 DK points. Like I said, that game against Cleveland's defense, very, very impressive. So I think you can consider him even against the Steelers on the road. I mean, the Steelers just got chopped up by CJ Stroud. So Hurts and Lamar look really good. And then Anthony Richardson, my boy, 7K, I think he's firmly in play for me in cash games. Probably my favorite choice as of right now. It is a division game against Tennessee. It's obviously going to be a lower total than either of Hurts or like Mahomes or someone like that. Kirk Cousins at 6,900 obviously is in a great game, but I don't care. I mean, the guy is running the ball at just he's so fast. He's throwing the ball better than we anticipated. I mean, he wasn't really efficient throwing the ball against the Rams, only a 44% completion percentage, but still hit that 200-yard mark, got there with 2 passing touchdowns. Feel really, really good about just Anthony Richardson moving forward for DFS, for fantasy, season long, all that good stuff. So Anthony Richardson, Jalen Hurts, Lamar Jackson, Lamar third of those 3. And those are the 3 guys that I'll be mainly considering for my cash game lineup. Some people might want to play Cousins because I'm sure he's going to project well in this expected shootout against the Chiefs, but no way can you consider him at 6,900 when Anthony Richardson is at 7K. I think you just pretty clearly play AR there for your cash games. Moving on down, CJ Stroud I've been very, very impressed with. Like I said, at 6K, I think I'd rather just find that $1,000 to get up to Anthony Richardson, but it is worth mentioning how well he has been playing. Daniel Jones against the Miami Dolphins has been just terrible. He does have a 34 DK point game against Arizona. Their offensive line just looked so bad. I don't know how you could trust that, even in a massive total game there. Russell Wilson at home against the Jets was a popular pick last week. In his game against the Bears, we'll be passing on him for cash games this week. Like I said, as you can see, moving on down here, Stafford, Derek Carr, Josh Dobbs, Kenny Pickett probably will miss this game, so we're going to get Mitch Trubisky at 5K against Baltimore. Not something I love. Desmond Ritter's horrible. I told you guys this in the summer. People wanted to bet on the Falcons to like win the NFC and stuff, and I'm like, do you guys know who's playing quarterback for them? I mean, the guy is – I'm willing to say Desmond Ridder is worse than Zach Wilson. I'll go out on a limb and say that. If I was starting a team right now, I would take Zach Wilson over Desmond Ridder, personally. So just terrible, 4,900. Ryan Tannehill also 4,900. Just funny to see some of these guys below 5K. The one guy I will bring up is Zach Wilson, who finally put it together against Kansas City Chiefs. 28 for 39, 245 passing yards, 2 passing touchdowns. And now he gets the Coors Field of this season, which has been the Denver Broncos defense. I mean, absolutely horrible. They get 70 points dropped on them by the Miami Dolphins in Miami. Then they go on the road to Chicago. And Justin Fields, who quite literally was – I think the Bears were at a point where if he started out poorly in the first like 3 quarters of that game, I think they would have just benched him and went to the second half. I'm not saying they would have benched him moving forward, but in that game against the Broncos, I think there was actual risk of him getting benched. And, I mean, he just absolutely cooked Denver through the air. So Zach Wilson at 4,900, if you want to spend down in your cash game lineup and jam studs, it's egregious, but that's probably who I would consider. But me personally, probably just be clicking Anthony Richardson and moving on. Moving on to the running back position. I'm assuming Saquon Barkley will probably be able to get active for this game. So he's our most expensive running back option at 8,100. Then we have Bijan Robinson there at 77, Derrick Henry at 75. Not sure what's going on with Jonathan Taylor. We can wait and see because that would affect Zach Moss. Don't think he's going to play, but I saw he was like back at practice on Wednesday. So I don't know. We'll see what goes on with that news throughout the week. And then we drop down Kyron Williams, David Montgomery, Joe Mixon, et cetera, et cetera. So once again, I've come on these videos and I've talked to you guys about how people want to save money at running back. We're spending less at running back than we ever have before in our DFS lineups, specifically in cash games. And that's once again going to be the case this week. I mean, look at this. The most expensive guy is 8,100. We don't even know if he's going to play. If he doesn't, the most expensive option is 7,700. And there were times a few years ago we were spending 10K on two running back spots, 10K each on Le'Veon Bell and David Johnson. So it's pretty crazy how things have changed. CMC not being on the slate obviously is a big effect of that as well. So where I'm looking at in cash games starting out, Kyron Williams, we'll see what happens with him. Apparently suffered a bruised hip, whatever. If he's good to go, I mean, he still had an insane role. Obviously a tough matchup there against Philly, and the Rams offensive line has not impressed me through the first few weeks. I think it's particularly a tough matchup for them in the trenches. So that's not something I typically want to buy into at a ceiling price tag of 6,700, but 25 attempts again, 2 touchdowns, got close looks. It's worth mentioning. He's going to project pretty well again, I think, but 6,700 I think is getting to the limit of where I would consider maybe not playing him. Both David Montgomery and Joe Mixon are interesting. Montgomery, I mean, obviously that monster game on Thursday night against the Packers, but you know, he's going to be a home favorite here against Carolina. 6,600, not out of the question, but Alvin Kamara is the winner for me in the 6K tier. 6,300 against New England. In New England isn't great, but I mean, can we look at this here? 13 catches on 14 targets. The man got 13 DraftKings points last week just off of his catches. And I think that a lot of that had to do with the fact that Derek Carr should not have been playing in that football game. He could not throw the ball down the field. He took one deep shot to Chris Olave and underthrew him by like 3 yards. The guy shouldn't have been playing. So I'm assuming since he played last week, he's going to play again this week. But I don't think he should be playing right now. He's clearly not healthy with that shoulder injury. Alvin Kamara was receiving a ton of checkdowns from him due to that. And if Derek Carr's in, I think we're going to see more of the same this week. This is like rookie year Najee Harris with old Ben Roethlisberger type usage here from these catches. I'm not saying he's going to catch 13 balls again, but if Derek Carr is starting at quarterback with his injured shoulder, we're going to have to play Alvin Kamara at 6,300. After Kamara, we have both the Dolphins guys. Mostert and Achane. You guys know I'm a big Achane fan. Only got 8 attempts last week, but when you're averaging 12.5 a pop, it doesn't matter that you only get 8 attempts. Mixed in with 5 targets, had a couple touchdowns. Guy's absolutely electric. I don't know if I can consider him in cash games yet, but it's going to be another week. Obviously, it's not going to be as good as last week because he really was super low owned last week. People will definitely be playing him more this week, but definitely want to consider Achane again. Like I said, Zach Moss at 5,800. People have kind of shied off of targeting running backs against Tennessee, but I do think he will project well enough. People will consider him, assuming Jonathan Taylor isn't good to go. Isaiah Pacheco, I'm really curious to see what happens with his ownership. He's coming off his best game of the season, 27.8 DraftKings points, 20 attempts, 115 yards, broke off a long touchdown, has shown a decent little pass catching for. Like if he's getting 2-3 catches a game, I think you're pretty happy with that. If you guys read my season-long article prior to the season, you know I was very high on Pacheco coming into the season. I have him on all my seasonal teams. Super high over-under against a bad defense in Minnesota. If you guys think back to how Minnesota has been playing this season, they've been blitzing a lot and running a lot of just super light boxes. They don't want to get beat with big plays. That's how they played Philadelphia. And, I mean, I'm assuming that's how they're going to play against the Kansas City Chiefs, right? I mean, I know that the pass catching options for the Chiefs aren't as quite as good as A.J. Brown and Devonta Smith, but if Brian Flores didn't want Jalen Hurts to throw all over him, I'm assuming he's not going to want Patrick Mahomes to throw all over him. So I think it's going to be a lot of Mahomes having to take the short, over the middle stuff, short looks, and a lot of Isaiah Pacheco. So at 5,700, not typically the type of running back that I would say we play in a cash game lineup the last few years, but Isaiah Pacheco 5,700 looks really good to me. And even if he's chalky, I think he's a really strong play, and I'm going to strongly consider playing him this week. Madison, I guess, is kind of interesting. He still has this really good role as well, even with Cam Akers active, still got 17 attempts. But I think straight up, Madison Pacheco, same price. Like Isaiah Pacheco is on the better offense and is a better running back than Alexander Madison. So I would just take Pacheco. Obviously, there's more risk because the Chiefs can run out CEH or Jerick McKinnon or something like that. But I mean, they've shown the willingness. Like it seems to me like it's pretty clear Isaiah Pacheco is the guy on early down work, and he's been getting those 2 to 3 catches a game. So Pacheco for me looks really strong here in the mid tier. Miles Sanders has been projecting well the last few weeks. He actually got out-touched by Chuba Hubbard last week. I think that mainly is due to his injury situation. He was nursing that, I think it was a groin. Yeah, groin last week. We'll see, once the injury report stuff comes out later this week, what's going on there. But assuming he's good to go, he will pop as a popular play. Matt Breida will pop as a popular play if Saquon Barkley's out. Pretty good role for him without Barkley. So even though I have no confidence in the Giants offense as a whole, specifically their offensive line, in a super high over-under against Miami, I would definitely consider Matt Breida at 5,200, assuming Saquon Barkley is out. And then moving on down, I guess if Javonte Williams were to miss, people would be playing McLaughlin, but it kind of sounds like Javonte's going to be good to go for this game. But McLaughlin's had a small role anyways, so won't be a cash game option if Javonte's in. But if he were out, McLaughlin, I think people would definitely be interested in at 5K. Don't really love any of these guys below 5K. So that pretty much does it for me at the running back spot. Personally, I could see myself starting out with Richardson at running quarterback, Alvin Kamara and Pacheco at running back. I don't want to skip, I don't want to just start talking about tight ends, but let's just, for the sake of this, since I'm building this on the screen here, let's put a cheap tight end in, put a cheap defense in. And what does that leave us with? That gives us around 63 per position, assuming we could find a really cheap receiver, which I already know we can. That would probably allow me to get Justin Jefferson to correlate with Pacheco. Jefferson looks like just a smash play this week. Once again, I mean, look at this. Look at this. We'll segue this to receiver because, I don't know how you don't play Justin Jefferson this week. We've talked about how great he is at home in Minnesota. We've talked about how specifically a lot of his touchdowns come at home in Minnesota, although he put that narrative to rest last week when he scored 2 TDs on the road in Carolina. But look at this guy's – I don't want a game log watch, but since I have it on the screen here, the guy has no less than 9 targets in any game this season, and that was a low point last week. Prior to that, it was 12, 13, and 13. His DraftKings points in those games, 27, 28.9, 30.9, 26.5. Yeah. How do we not play Justin Jefferson? Correlating with Isaiah Pacheco, it's perfect. He's 9,400. He's gonna go. He's gonna go in my cash game lineup. That's just what it is. Tyreek Hill is a great play after him at 9K as well. No issues with Tyreek Hill, but definitely lean Jefferson in cash. Tyreek fine in tournaments. Cooper Kupp, I don't know. I mean, kind of sounded like maybe he could come back this week. So that would affect things with the other Rams guys. Puka Nacua is up to 7,700, but man, has he been good. I mean, 24, 33, 34 DK points in 3 of his 4 games, the low point being a 12-point floor game against the Bengals, where he still caught 5 of 7 targets for 72 yards. Super good play. So this is how I'm breaking down receiver. Jefferson, pretty much a lock in cash for me at this point. He will be going in my lineup. I'll be overexposed to him this week. Smash spot for Jefferson. Tyreek, A.J. Brown, Jamar Chase, these guys are fine tournament plays, but Jefferson's the cash play. Puka Nacua and Amon-Ra St. Brown are both cash plays for me. Amon-Ra's been very consistent as well, 19, 18, 22, and 16. And he only has 2 touchdowns on the season. So, I mean, I still think a multi-touchdown game is in the range of outcomes for Amon-Ra St. Brown. So he'll be in my cash pool if you want to try and do a double spend up at receiver, which I do think will be in play this week. Once again, like I said, Nacua, his role is unbelievable. So he's definitely in play for cash for me. A lot of tournament plays in the middle here. Now, if T. Higgins were to miss, that would definitely change things when it comes to Jamar Chase. I think that would push more ownership to Chase. And maybe I would consider him over a Nacua or a St. Brown for my cash lineup, but that'll be contingent on if T. Higgins misses and kind of the rest of my research throughout the rest of the week. So moving on down, Garrett Wilson at 6K sticks out to me. I think he's a good option. He's still kind of been getting there even with bad quarterback play from Zach Wilson. Has double-digit DK points in 3 of his 4 games, the outlier being a 9.8 DK point game. So basically hit 10+ in every single game. And a lot of that has just been floor level performances because of how Zach Wilson has been playing. I mean, in week 1, he still got there with that insane touchdown catch, had 14 DK points. Week 2 broke off a long touchdown to get you to 16, and then had a floor game against New England, and then a big game against Kansas City on 14 targets. And the Jets offense did look a little bit better in that game. I talked about them going to the Coors Field of DFS this season, which is the horrible Denver defense. So Garrett Wilson at 6K definitely intrigues me. DeAndre Hopkins, if Treylon Burks is out again, intrigues me here. Would correlate a little bit with Anthony Richardson on the other side at quarterback, assuming you have him. He also was just missed on a long touchdown last week, so he could have had a really big game. He could have had 17, 18 DraftKings points. The Houston guys are in play for me. Tank Dell, people won't want to play him off of that stinker last week, but I think Tank Dell's fine. I think Nico Collins is fine in the mid-tier for cash builds, along with Wilson. I think Adam Thielen is in play again for cash games, even with how bad Bryce Young has been. With Bryce Young at quarterback, had a 7 for 54 in a touchdown game and a 7 for 76 game. And then obviously with Dalton at quarterback, had an 11 for 145 in one game. So Adam Thielen has been the focal point of this Panthers offense. Should be a decent little environment there against Detroit, who's banged up in the secondary. 5,100, not high enough price for Adam Thielen. So once again, he will check into my cash game pool. Tyler Boyd at 4,500 will be a very, very chalky play if T. Higgins is out. So I think people would want to play Chase if T. Higgins is out. But the more I think about it, Tyler Boyd at 4,500 would just where people go. So for cash, Tyler Boyd is a chalky name to remember should T. Higgins miss. And then I don't really love any of these other guys for cash builds, except for one guy. And let's take a look at this. I think he's min-priced, 3K, because the pricing came out prior to Monday Night Football, and it's my boy Wan'Dale Robinson, 3K on DraftKings. His snaps have gone up in each of his 2 games this season. He's pretty much iced Paris Campbell, operating a lot in the slot for the New York Giants. Stone min against Miami in a 50 over-under. Caught 5 of 6 balls for 40 yards. Like, that doesn't get you excited, but for cash games at min price, you're talking about someone getting you 9 DraftKings points. That feels really good. He also, I think, was open for a touchdown late in that game when Daniel Jones did that pick 6. So I'll mention that out there. But Wan'Dale Robinson will be going in my cash game lineup this week, along with Jefferson. I'm sure he'll be really chalky. I haven't really looked at projection stuff yet, but I don't know how people don't play him at 3K. So this is like a tentative shell cash lineup here I built on the screen for you. Richardson, Kamara, Pacheco, Wan'Dale, Jefferson, cheap tight end, cheap D. That gives you 6,500 for 2 spots. So it's going to be easy to get another spend-up receiver. There's no Tony Pollard, no CMC, so I don't really want to spend up at running back. So it'll be a 4 receiver week for me. I think, if I put in like Thielen, like I can just easily get whoever I want. So I think with 10 games, ownership's going to be more condensed. I think it's going to be a chalkier week again, which has made it difficult to play double ups with how chalky it's been the last few years. But, I don't know. We'll see what happens by the time we get to the weekend. Wow, it's already 28 minutes, and this is a longer episode. Apologies, guys, if you like the shorter episodes. Moving on to tight end. Thank God the DraftKings did not do what FanDuel did with making Travis Kelce like some absurd price, 87, 89, because it's his number and Taylor Swift's birth year. I don't even know like what to do with that. So thankfully, DraftKings didn't do that. Travis Kelce, fine play. Not going to be in play for cash for me. Although maybe it will be. Like, I guess since there's no CMC, no Pollard, if you wanted to play Kelce instead of a Chase, St. Brown, person like that, I think you could do that, I guess. So we'll put him in the maybe cash tier. Skipping all these mid-tier guys, saving them for tournaments. Moving on down. Chigakonkwo, again, super frustrating, but if Treylon Burks is out at 3,200, I'd have no problems clicking his name. Tyler Conklin, weirdly, has been heavily involved. 5 and 6 targets in 2 of his last 3, 5 in the other one. Good matchup against Denver, so I guess you maybe consider some Conklin. Durham Smythe got banged up in this game against Denver. That's why he had 1 target and 1 catch. Was back to 4 for 41. I mean, 8 DraftKings points for my tight end. That's 3K. Seems pretty good, and it's a obviously pretty attractive matchup there. The Giants defense cannot tackle. Actually, so the more I think about it, maybe I should be trying to get Jefferson and Tyreek in this lineup because I don't know. I need to look it up. I'll look it up and I'll write about it in my article, but I would guarantee that the Giants have to be one of the worst teams in football in yak allowed. I mean, the team can't tackle. And I think it's a trend. I have a theory. If you guys remember back to those Wink Martindale Ravens teams, they were very bad in terms of yak allowed, very bad at tackling. I don't know if this is like a Wink Martindale thing or what, but his defenses can never tackle. The Giants are like one of the worst tackling teams I've ever seen. So maybe we should just be playing Tyreek and Waddle because they're just going to feast in terms of yak in this matchup. They can't tackle. They're not going to be able to tackle these guys. They're not going to be able to tackle Achane. They're not going to be able to tackle Tyreek. They're not going to be able to tackle Waddle. Just stack up the Dolphins in tournaments again. It's going to be just another Dolphins double week for me. Anyways, sorry for getting off on a tangent there, but yeah, I don't know. Picking one of these cheap guys, Juwan Johnson. I mean, if he's out, I don't even know what they have because Foster Moreau's out. I mean, are we gonna go with Jimmy Graham? No, we can't. We can't play Jimmy Graham. We can't. All right, so one of these cheap guys, I think Chig, if Treylon's out, looks really good. I think Conklin looks pretty good. If Irv Smith is out again, you could just go back to Tanner Hudson and hope he falls into the end zone. I think that's completely fine. I think Durham Smythe's fine. Even Granson, I think, is fine. Pretty clear we want to save here once again. Although I will also note, I wonder what Pittsburgh's going to do here because if he's out, they've mainly used him as a blocker, but Pittsburgh has Darnell Washington, who, if you guys don't watch college football, Darnell Washington, one catch for 10 yards last week. Darnell Washington is an absolute freak of nature. An absolute freak of nature. So, he mainly has been used as like an extra lineman at times. If he's actually going to run routes, I need to look up his amount of routes he ran last week once Freiermuth went down. If he's going to run routes, Darnell Washington at min price definitely could get me going a little bit for cash because I don't care. I'll play a mid price tight end in cash all week. So I'll update my thoughts on that in my article later this week. Finishing off at defense, we don't need many takes here. Steelers at home. Actually, I don't really want to go against Lamar. So I guess Titans against Anthony Richardson's fine. He will turn the ball over, throw picks, fumble, etc. Patriots at home against Derek Carr, who quite literally couldn't throw the ball last week, would definitely be fine. Any of these cheap teams are fine. Overall, thank you guys for watching. A little bit of a longer video this week, so drop a like if you made it this far on YouTube. It really helps us out. Let me know in the comments how you did last week. Let me know in the comments who you like this week, and I hope you guys win this week. I'm feeling pretty good with my process, feeling pretty dialed in. I think it's going to be another big week for my content, my core plays, people that tail me and our viewers and stuff. So I think it's going to be another good week in week 5. Good luck, and I'll see you guys next week.